Hello, I'm Azai. Welcome back to Sharin no Kuni, Yukyu no Shounenshoujo. It's actually 1 a.m. right now. I went to bed super early at like 10. And lo and behold, this is what happens when you go to bed super early. I wake up at 1. I was hungry and I went to the bathroom. And I went downstairs to get some milk. And when I try to get to sleep again, I can't go to bed. So I said, you know what? I think I'm gonna play some Sharin no Kuni. Probably not gonna play for too long. Maybe like 2 hours or 3 hours maybe. Maybe like record 2 sessions. And I'm gonna try to go to bed again. Since I did sleep for 3 hours already. But yeah. Welcome back. I think last time we left off at failing to become a bad guy to Ina-san. I believe that's it. That's all I remember, really. Oh, also, I guess Hozuki or Masaomi was telling us about his past. It was a crisp, clear morning. Saburo spoke to me while changing Ken's diaper.
Oi, 今日は学園が休みだぞ。
I know. It's a holiday known as summer vacation.
年中遊んでいる俺には関係ないかな。
I wonder if you guys actually hear the mouse clicks. Because I do notice, on my other microphone, you can hear the mouse clicks. I'm not sure if on this one you can hear it. If you can, I think I have a setting that might, like, not make you guys hear the mouse click, hopefully. But I guess I'll listen on the recording after I'm done myself. Try to see if the mouse clicks are there. I looked down at Saika-san while she was still asleep.
ちょっと二人で遊んできたらどうだ？
We have no time for recreation. I frowned.
今日で正臣くんの人生も終わりか。
It very well may be.
おいおい、頼むぜ。
I estimate that Saika-san has less than a 10% chance of remaining calm in the face of Hozuki Ari's treatment.
なんだよその数字。
Indeed, under normal circumstances, I would give up with these odds. A fight one cannot win is meaningless. However, my life is on the line here. I cannot allow myself to die that easily.
ってことは何か策があるんだな。
I replied immediately, none.
嘘！
Though I do have a plan. You said you didn't have a plan.
どっちだよ。
I glanced briefly around the area. I intend to invalidate the test itself.
あ？
Listen well, Saburo. I finally revealed my intentions. I plan to attempt a counterattack against Hozuki Ari. Saburo went pale. I actually don't remember this, so I thought it was like Kenichi's dad who was gonna be rebelling because of how, you know, he's a lot more emotional. I didn't think it was gonna be Masaomi. She told us before that everything involving the final exam had been placed in her hands. However, wouldn't you say that she is overstepping her boundaries a bit by killing 3 cadets, employing violence of questionable necessity on Saika-san, and letting a menace loose up on the townsfolk? Now, one can expect at least some of this to be covered up. In the end, though, Hozuki is still a foreign woman. Her position in our society is a shaky one at best. If both you and I are to fail this exam, she will lose quite a bit of face.
そうだろうな。
Saburo nodded and spoke quietly. Furthermore, I've been keeping detailed records of her misconduct.
そういえば朝にノートをつけていたが。
Being promoted means seizing the position of your former superior. Thus, there is nothing to be lost in remembering their particular failures.
覚えておいてどうするんだ？
He's gonna snitch, I guess? Report them.
報告？誰に？
Saburo seemed dubious, so I decided to lay one of my trump cards flat. I have an acquaintance who happens to be a high-ranking government official. I gained his favor when he was invited to the university as a lecturer. If I am not mistaken, he held a fairly prestigious position in the Criminal Affairs Bureau of the Ministry of Justice. Conveniently, he also happened to be an underground anti-foreigner activist.
つまり天帝をゆするわけか。
If I threaten her with this prospect, I'm certain she will attempt to dispose of the both of us personally in order to hide the evidence.
でも天帝は女で背も低い。腕力なら勝てそうだと。
I smiled. You fought in the war too, did you not? If we both go after her at once, our chance of winning is even higher.
なるほどね。
Keep in mind that there is no guarantee if my report of Hosuke's indiscretions will actually have any effect. And there is always the possibility that she will not respond to the threat at all. Still, I feel that this course of action is preferable to betting on a 10% chance. Saburo closed his eyes and crossed his arms in thought.
お前、やっぱすげえな。まさかそうきたか。てっきり真面目にミーナちゃんを更生させるのかと思ってたよ。
Me too, Saburo. You can't become first rate by just doing what you're told. That's also true, though. Also true. That's why I'll always become second rate, I guess. Even I thought that I was pushing things a bit too far with this plan. But the thought of taking that arrogant woman down a peg or two was too delightful to resist.
正臣が反逆を考えるのは、ミーナちゃんとラブラブになって、ミーナちゃんが天帝に殺されそうになってからかと思ってたぜ。
If you're going to joke around, make it funny. Plans born of desperation can hardly be called plans at all. I guess you're right. I approached Saburo. Speaking of which, allow me to explain my plan. However...
ちょっと待てよ。
Saburo slowly shook his head.
俺が手伝うなんて言ったか。
My jaw dropped.
俺は天帝に歯向かったりしないぜ。
What? I had never thought this would happen.
そんなヤバい真似はやめてくれよ。せっかく最終試験にまでこぎつけたのによ。
I told you, Saburo. You're not being very funny.
ギャグじゃねえって。巻き込むなよ、俺を。
This is ridiculous. Impossible. I frowned. Didn't she kill 3 of your friends? Don't you hate that damn woman?
落ち着けって。ありえないことなんていくらでもあるっての。
Wow, why is suddenly our roles are reversed? This actually does not make sense if I were in Masaumi's shoes. You'd think that Kenichi's dad or Saburo, kind of hard to call him whatever his name is, because I associate Kenichi with, you know, what do I call him? I guess Saburo. Oh. I've been absolutely convinced that Saburo would cooperate with me. Then state your reasoning. It'd best be convincing. Saburo averted his eyes.
まあ、天帝に勝てるとは思わねえってのが一番の理由かね。
True, true. She is pretty dangerous with that gun of hers.
ほらよ、治安維持局の局員も来てるじゃん。
True. I guess in his eyes, being like being this aggressive might be a lot more dangerous than betting on that 10%. Besides, I think that 10% is actually only Masaomi dying, right? Saburo is kinda like home free if Masaomi is the one that died. Whoa. I don't think he was that calculating though. Dealing with them is simply a matter of using the proper strategy. That had been what I was about to explain. We just have to launch a surprise attack. If she is unaware that she has been targeted, then there is no reason for her to be accompanied by guards when they could be out searching for the prisoner.
でも、天帝の拳銃さばきを見たろ。逆に俺たちは丸腰だぜ。
We just need to catch her off guard. For instance, you could engage her in conversation and keep her distracted while I...
だから俺は嫌だってば。
Going at it alone resulted in a very high probability of getting yourself shot dead, meaning that Saburo's cooperation was indispensable.
とにかくよそうぜな。
I guess in the end, he might be thinking that it's a lot more dangerous to do this than betting on that 10%. If you look at it from a positive outlook. I sighed. I thought we were supposed to be friends.
ダチだから無謀な真似はよせって言ってるんだって。
But don't you understand that I will be killed if I simply allow Hozuki to examine Saika-san like this?
いや、テンテはお前のことを気に入ってるみたいだし、大丈夫だって。
You're being too optimistic. He's right.
お前は殺されないって。お前の言う通り、テンテも誰かを合格させなきゃ立場がやばいはずだし。
She can pass you, you know. It would appear that I had misjudged this man. Apparently, the rumor that he had reached the final exam out of pure luck was true after all. Very well. My apologies.
考え直してくれんのか?
Well, it seems that I have no choice but to do just that. There was the risk of Saburo informing Hozuki Ari of my plans. I could not afford to act rashly.
まあ、もうちょい待てって。俺も考えてるところなんだよ。
I await their fruition. I repressed my desire to respond sarcastically. Bye.
あ、どこ行くんだよ。
The toilet. Ugh. I had no eye for people at all. What was I thinking informing him of my plans like that? I'd even revealed the connection that I considered my trump card. Tch. Lying on the floor of the bathroom was yet another source of trouble. Midday rolled around while I was lost in thought.
ケンちゃんって元気ないですね。具合でも悪いんですか?
The person who looked sick around here was Saika-san.
一度医者に見せたけどさ、特に悪いところはなさそうだって。
やっぱり本当のお母さんがいいんですかね。
How would a kid actually even know who his real mother is? Come on. When people talk something like that, man, they just need to have some self-confidence, you know? Who cares who their real mother is if they, like, pushed them aside and left them in, you know? He was being thrown away. Who cares? Her expression grew distant as she held him.
ほら、高いですよ。
I absent-mindedly watched the two of them play together.
ほら、笑って。
She innocently patted him on the head. Watching them made my heart start to ache. Had my own mother helped me like that once? Ken looked frightened and remained silent, despite Saika-san's attention.
阿久津さん。
What is it? I guess he's being melancholic because he doesn't have anything planned up, so he might be thinking that he's gonna die soon, right?
いえ、怖い顔をなさっていらっしゃるものですから。
You needn't concern yourself with me.
すみません。
She must have been expecting me to play the villain again.
明日はほずき先生にテストをしてもらうんですよね。
She shifted the conversation to a pointless line of discussion, frightened of the silence.
前のように暴力を振るわれるのでしょうか。
Most likely.
暴力って怖いですよね。殴られた時、頭を痛みだけに支配される感じで、何も考えられなくなるんです。
I mean, most people, if they're not raised in a very violent manner, wouldn't be used to violence. I know one of my nephews were actually like raised with violence in mind, and it's not a very good way of teaching a kid. He started being really rebellious, and you know, he eventually got used to the violence, and in turn also does the violent things to his friends, which is not good.
私、どんなに頑張っても 暴力にはかなわないような気がするんです。
I guess in a way he's similar to Masaomi, at least in the terms of how violent his thoughts were. But I doubt he actually was thinking all that far ahead though. I don't know how he is now. Last time I saw him was like maybe 10 years ago. It's been a long time. Calm down. There's no guarantee it will come to that. A bit of sweat dripped down her brow.
私、今までほとんど手を挙げられたことがなくて。
Not even a Shinto family would stoop to violence, it seemed.
お嬢様みたいで情けないです。
Well, that's to be expected, seeing as you are one. Taika-san. I try to speak as gently as possible. Why don't we step outside for a bit? Sitting in here and worrying about it won't change anything. My sudden invitation surprised her for a moment, but she soon nodded. We ended up taking a stroll all the way to the mountains. It's quite pleasant around here. I took a glance at Saika-san, who was walking beside me. She seemed to have calmed down a bit.
珍しいですね。
Hmm?
いえ、阿久津さんが景色の話をなさるなんて。
Must be a blue moon.
冗談も久しぶりに聞かせていただきました。
She placed her hand near her mouth and laughed elegantly. Well, would you like to go mushroom gathering again? I teased her.
構いませんよ。私は食べられないですけど。
That was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
ええ。何のお役にも立てなかったですけど。
You got that right. I had my hands full dealing with that. Her laughter carried the same brilliance as it had when we first met. A smile does indeed suit you best. I had embarrassed her.
どうなさったんですか今日は。
Nothing at all. I believe I'm acting quite normal.
そうですか。
She looked away, a shy grin on her face. A pure grin speaking of joy she could not contain.
でも嬉しいです。阿久津さんが優しくしてくださって。
I had been rather harsh on her these past few days.
お会いした時から阿久津さんはずっと紳士的な方でした。
Well, I've been trying to act like one to set her at ease.
阿久津さんのように素敵な方は初めてです。
And I've never been praised by someone like this before either. This wasn't a time for small talk. I needed to come up with a plan to survive Hozuki's investigation tomorrow. But whenever I looked at Saika-san, the inside of my head clouded over. I found it hard to think. Just what was this feeling? It had begun last night. A mess of urgent, complicated emotions was kicking around inside of my chest.
この先に見晴らしのいい崖があるんです。
Oh.
風が気持ちいいですよ。
I followed after Saika-san. I desired closure for the feelings building up inside of me. A breeze engulfed me as I climbed the hill, just as Saika-san had said. I see.
どうですか
What do you mean?
気持ちよくないですか
She offered her chest to the wind. Sorry, but it doesn't particularly strike me one way or the other.
でもなんだか安心しませんか
No, wind is just wind. That was a bit cold. My apologies. Nevertheless, Saika-san continued smiling.
目を閉じて両手を広げ大きく深呼吸をしてみてください。
Very well. I did as she suggested. I closed my eyes, seeing nothing but the slight remnant of the sun. I lifted my arms, allowing the wind to carry them as it wished.
どうです自然の息吹を感じませんか力強い 大地の歌です。
Her words were something straight out of a poem, yet her voice carried no shame. I'm sorry. I really have no idea. I opened my eyes and gave her a half smile.
さっぱりですか？
Saika-san smiled back at me, apparently curious. Excuse the rude question, but what exactly do you have to gain by doing this?
利益？
How should I put it? What about it do you find novel? I could not understand this woman. Or maybe I am the odd one here. Saika-san shut her eyes without answering my question.
楽しいですよ。
She spoke in a whisper.
とても落ち着きます。
I found myself at a complete loss for words. An inarticulate man such as myself did not possess the words to describe the spectacle before me to begin with. I felt a noble presence before me, a noble presence which I could not approach. Excuse me.
はい。
I found it difficult to even speak to her. You're, well, a fairly sensitive person. I felt ashamed of myself for being able to say nothing more. I'm envious. I respect you. My words were neither compliment nor flattery. I had presumed to think that I had encountered a great deal of people already, but my world was still a narrow one, it would seem. So this was the kind of person who wrote songs. I felt just a bit of Saika-san's passion. My heart ached once more. Furiously, burningly. Saika-san, I would like to ask you about something. My whole body was on fire. About last night.
遅くまでお付き合いしていただいてありがとうございました。
Her graceful gaze pierced my very soul. What exactly were you trying to say at the end there? It seemed as though it was something important.
それは
You did say that you had something you wished to tell me.
ええ
Nice face. She bit her lip. Her eyes wandered. Perhaps you are thinking the same thing that I am.
私と同じ
I've been having these unmanageable feelings since the other day. They are nearly stifling in their intensity. I sighed. Saika-san forced herself to speak despite her strain.
わかりました。昨日の続きを言わせていただきます。私には勇気がなくてどうしてもお伝えできなかったのですが。
She stilled herself and stepped forward.
阿久津さん、
Yes.
どうか
Her voice was ragged.
どうか
I reached out to her.
あなたをお伝えすることを。
I interrupted her attempt to lay her feelings bare and placed my hand on her shoulders. Wait a minute. I shifted my attention to the area behind me. We were being watched. Someone had been observing us. My head swam with possibilities. Are you a messenger from Miss Hozuki? The bushes began rustling as I spoke. What is your business here? A man in a suit climbed out of the foliage. He was tall and muscular. He took an ID card out of his breast pocket and presented it to me. He was a member of the public security forces.
阿久津正臣、大月先生がお呼びだ。
Why were you eavesdropping on us if you simply had to deliver a message?
命令に従わないのか。
Don't worry. I'll head to the school right now.
よろしい。確かに伝えたぞ。
The man bowed and left, making sure not to let his guard down.
お仕事ですか？
Yes. Sorry to interrupt something important like this.
では今晩にでもまた。
She seemed both disappointed and relieved. Let us descend the mountain. Be careful. It does feel like we were forcing the words out of her mouth, to be fair. Excuse me. I entered the room after knocking. Hozuki, the messenger from earlier, and Saburo were all waiting in the room.
デート中にすまなかったな。
I ignored her provocation and spoke. How long have you been observing me?
今日の昼からだ。
She spoke collectedly.
テストを前日に控えて、身体極まった阿久津がそろそろ私に牙を向いてくる頃かと思ってな。
I looked at Saburo.
私の傍若無人な行動を上に密告されでもしたらたまらんからな。
So that's how it went.
ついでに局員の一人を私の護衛に当たらせることにしようかとも思う。
Saburo had been in contact with Hozuki.
なぜなら私は貧弱な移民の女だ。格闘になれば阿久津に勝てるとは思えんからな。
I looked at Saburo once more. He refused to meet my gaze. No sense in being bothered by it. It was my fault for trusting him without a solid grounds for doing so in the first place. So, are you going to arrest me on charges of treason? Saika-san gasped.
そう、いきり立つな。
She locked down at the gun on her desk and continued.
阿久津と二人きりで話がしたいな。
Alone, I cannot leave Saika-san unsupervised.
そのために樋口も呼びつけたのだ。
え、俺っすか？
赤ん坊の世話もあるのだろ。早く帰れ。
了解っす。行こうか、ミーナちゃん。
はい。阿久津さん、
She looked unsettled.
また夜に。
Yes. Saburo took Saika-san by the hand and left.
お前も退出しろ。
よろしいのですか？
阿久津もバカではない。この場で私に襲いかかってこないだろ。なあ。
Quite. It was too early to act in desperation. The man quietly left the room.
さて、阿久津よ。
Yes.
明日のテストは万全なのだろうな。
I hesitated for a moment. That is not the case. No use in lying about it.
やはり無理だったか？
I would say that it is necessary to continue monitoring her for a while longer before she is capable of returning to her Shinto duties.
なるほどな。あの気の弱い無能な女のそばにいてやって愛情を注いで励ましてやる必要があると。
Incompetent, you say? You act as if I am her lover. I had lost my cool.
違うのか？
Of course not. I'm merely acting as her supervisor.
だが確実に心を通わせているだろ。
She saw right through me. I simply happened to sympathize with her on a few points.
気を抜くとサイカミーナのことを考えているようなことはないか？
Not at all. No. I certainly shouldn't have. But I was sure that Saika-san was worried about me right now. Perhaps she was starting to prepare dinner, anxiously awaiting my return. A deep laughter penetrated my musings. Guess everything went as planned, huh? The sort of laughter you would only hear from Hozuki Ari. Right as I was about to ask her what was so amusing.
もろいな、阿久津。
She cut me off with an eerie declaration, proclaiming a tone cold enough to chill the room itself.
もろすぎる。
She approached me while slowly shaking her head back and forth.
一つだけ教えてやろう。お前のサイカミーナに対する感情は私の手によって作られたものだ。
I know.
私は 最終試験指導教官として一本のストーリーを書いているに過ぎない。
I know. What is that supposed to mean?
ラブストーリーだ。
She licked her lips.
サイカミーナがこの町に移送されたのはなぜだと思う？
I shook my head, unable to offer her a reply.
あのお嬢様は阿久津にふさわしい罪人だったのだ。片や恵まれない環境に育ち、自分だけを信じて環境を変えてきた屈強な男。片や格式高い両家に生まれ、周りに振り回されるだけの人生を歩んできたか弱い少女。最初は人の顔色を伺ってばかりの少女を見下していた男も、少女の境遇を知るにつれて同情し、自分にはない魅力を前にして狼狽していく。あまり人に踏み込まれたことのない少女もプライベートを監視するという名目で、いつもそばにいる男のやひた強さに惹かれていく。やがて二人は愛を歌い結ばれる。
She paused for a moment.
だが邪魔者がいる。そいつは非道にもいつまでたっても少女の義務を解消させようとしない。
Hozuki pointed happily to herself.
そのうちに男は考えるようになる。この少女が何をしたというのか、どんな罪があるというのか、こんな理不尽な真似が許されていいのか。いや、許されない。少女は何も悪くない。悪いのはあの高慢な女だ。いいや、女を作り出した世の中なのだと。男は女のために我々に反逆する。だが奮戦虚しく敗れてしまい、女は処刑されてしまう。男は自分のせいで愛する女が死んでしまったのだと自責の念に駆られながら、反逆を志した自分の愚かさを呪い、我々に従うようになる。
She exhaled lazily.
という筋書きだが、何か質問は？
I chose my words carefully. I'm not well versed in judging the quality of a given scenario. Hozuki laughed through her nose at my words.
お前もどうせ私と同じ立場につくだろうから教えておいてやるが、特別高等人の最終試験は試験とは名ばかりの強制プログラムなのだ。人の気持ちを煽りもてあそぶ死のプログラム。
Yeah, I kind of guessed about what type of exam it was ever since we finished the first Sharin. Like, I forgot about this, but I mean, you could see that it was definitely a means of making you see if an individual is like patriotic enough to serve the country or choose their own feelings, right? And try to cast aside, you know, or not cast aside, sorry, or like rebel against the country itself. How foolish.
くだらないだろ
Indeed.
う。だったら一つ提案がある。
What?
ここでお前を合格にしてやってもいい。
Her tone was unbelievably casual for such an outrageous proclamation.
お前の読み通り、私だって仕事なのだ。だから早い段階で合格者を出したいという気持ちがあるのだよ。お偉方に目をつけられる前にな。
I considered her words carefully and responded. If I pass and become a special high-class individual, what will become of Saika-san?
義務は解消され、首都に逆走される。
And Saburo?
樋口についてはお前の預かり知るところではなかろう。
Of course. I had no reason to worry about him. But would Saika-san be okay if she were sent back to her family as she was now? I weighed my concern for Saika-san's future against my own desire for influence.
どうした阿久津。 お前はもっと権力を集めて大勢の人間を従えたいのではないのか？私のような人間をひねり潰せるようになるまで強くなりたいのではなかったのか？
I refused to allow her to provoke me. Of course, passing the final exam this quickly would be another boon to my prestige. On the other hand, accepting her deal meant I would be in a position of debt to Hozuki Ari, which would not be favorable. As unfavorable as the prospect was, however, the odds of passing her examination tomorrow were quite low. Thank you for the attractive offer. May I have a little more time to think it over? Hozuki smiled thinly.
よかろう。よく考えるのだぞ。私の提案を受け入れることが唯一最初で最後のハッピーエンドへの選択肢だ。災禍も死なず、阿久津も罪の意識にうなされることがない。頭のいいお前ならわかるはずだ。
Such nonsense. Excuse me. I bowed and left the room. Yeah, he's probably like, kudaranai koto. That's probably what he said in Japanese. She had created my feelings towards Saika-san. The feelings I could not even understand how to express had been created by Hozuki? If things continued according to Hozuki's scenario, Saika-san would die and I would surrender to her. The very thought irritated me. To begin with, my feelings towards Saika-san were... No. I would make it clear tonight. I would make my own feelings clear. Saburo was waiting for me to relieve him when I arrived back at the house.
ちょっと出かけてくる。
It's late.
剣を預かってくれそうな人が見つかってさ、ちょっと話をつけてくる。
Are you going to give Ken away? You had said you would raise him.
いやよ、なんだかこの試験も長引きそうな予感がするからさ。
Paul.
俺とお前のピンチに剣が巻き込まれないようにしておこうと思ってさ。
Shouldn't you be the one to protect him if danger arises?
どうにもならない時もあるって、きっと。
Do whatever you want. Ken was dozing on Saburo's back. I pitied him for being taken in by irresponsible parents such as ourselves. Pity, huh? Only people that think themselves above those below can actually feel pity, though. Saika-san and I wasted time doing nothing in particular after eating dinner.
もう休まれますか？
She awkwardly flipped the light switch.
あの、
Yes. We faced each other with only the moonlight for our illumination. We both had something we had to talk about.
ほおずき先生とはどんなお話をされていたんですか？
Yes. About that, Saika-san. Saika-san grew a bit pale, apparently understanding the weight behind my words. We might be able to avoid having to take the test tomorrow.
なぜですか？
She has offered me the chance to pass the exam under special circumstances. I could tell that she was struggling to reply.
それはおめでとうございます。
Her expression was not a congratulatory one. It seems you will be returned to your family after the exam is over.
義務はどうなるのでしょう？
You will cancel it. You'll be a free woman.
それは急なお話ですね。
Because it was all just a ruse in the first place. She was clearly taken off guard. However, I have not yet officially accepted the offer. She has left the decision up to me. I can either proceed with the test tomorrow or leave things as they are and become a special high-class individual immediately.
どうなさるんです？
I bit my lip as I listened to her frightened words. I understand you're unease. You don't want to return to your home, do you?
はい。恥ずかしいことに。
You're going to have your obligation cancelled and be returned to them if you pass the test tomorrow too, though.
それはよくわかっているのですが。
Did she? I found myself wanting to criticize her. I wanted to be involved more deeply with her, even if it meant hurting her. Whatever the case, we will not be seeing each other any longer.
そんな嫌です。
Selfish words.
前にも言いましたけど、私ずっとこのままがいいんです。ずっと阿久津さんのおそばに置いてくださいませんか？もう気づいていらっしゃるでしょうが、私はあなたをお慕いしているんです。
Tears started welling up in her eyes as soon as she said it. Taken by surprise, I fell into a state of disarray.
答えてくださらなくても構いません。初めてなのです。こういった気持ちは。ですが、本気なのです。どうか、あなたを。
To be fair, to put love or adoration in someone like Saikamina, who was very, very distant with other people, was quite an easy task, right? Hozuki definitely made the perfect victim for us. Or like Masaomi. It was super easy to manipulate Saikamina's actions. It's a lot harder to predict Masaomi's actions though. Right? Saikamina is quite easy to predict. God damn it, Masaomi. I don't know how to feel, you know? This is a feeling that I also struggle with. This feeling of likeness is manufactured, is it truly genuine? I mean, she seems genuine, but at the back of my head, I can't seem to accept it as something genuine. Because someone was plotting this. It's like when you have a friend who tried to hook you up with some other chick behind your back, right? How would normal people usually feel about that? For me personally, I don't think I would feel comfortable with it. But I don't know. I am not very well versed in romance. Each word took her more effort than the last.
あなたをお慕いすることを許してください。
She looked ready to collapse at any moment. She poured all of her courage into her trembling frame. I tried to speak as directly as I could. I understand your feelings. Hozuki's prediction had been an accurate one. I shall convey the feelings I have endeavored to understand. She forced herself to meet my eyes. Honestly, I was extremely puzzled at first. I've never experienced feelings like this before, and I had been convinced that I never would. But I finally come to a conclusion. Or rather, I've been forced to reach one because of Hozuki forcing a selection upon me. I crossed my arms and tried to suppress the wild beating of my heart with reason. You see, Saika-san.
はい。
She wore the face of one timid after bearing her soul. Or perhaps the look of one filled with expectation. I believe that I hate people like you. My words held all the sting of a whip. She was unable to speak. This would have to be the deciding factor. She froze as soon as she saw what I took out of my pocket. I found it this morning in the bathroom. Just what is this?
それは。
I'm asking you what it is. I had a feeling... It's drugs, isn't it? I spoke with an overpowering tone. We had a promise, didn't we? What promise was it now? Oh.
作詞はしないと。
Oh. Oh, it's not drugs? Oh shit, sorry, I jumped the gun. Her response came timorously. I have to Google what that is. Showing or suffering from nervousness, okay. If you know that, then why did you write it?
それは。
I glared at her as she panicked. This is a betrayal. My pent-up feelings began to escape one by one. When I first found this, I was considering forgiving you because I sympathize with you, but that was too soft of me. I've been too soft. No. I would wager that everyone involved with you up until now has been too soft. And that is why you have become the coward that you are today. Her eyes grew wide. Honestly, your behavior is filled with contradictions from beginning to end. You want me to remain by your side, but then turn around and say that I don't need to return your feelings. You say you want me to pass this special high-class individual exam, but you don't want your obligation cancelled. She promised she wouldn't write any more songs, but continued writing them in secret. My mother was the same way. She apologized all the while she was leaving our home. If you feel the need to apologize for something, then you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. Nothing but irrationalities. Is there no limit to your selfishness? I intimidated her. Why should I hold romantic feelings for someone like you? Man, this is probably when Masaomi is supposed to be like acting very mad. But I just can't, you know. I can't. I'm one of those people that are like, I can't become someone like this. I guess if it's against someone that I hate, I can, but if it's against someone that I like am indifferent about or like, there's no way I can do it. That might be a weakness though, right? Because that means you're... When someone close to you is doing something you don't want to, and yet you're not strict with them, that's a weakness. She stood motionless, her eyes filled with tears. The tears of a child. I will not deny that you possess a certain sensibility that I do not. You have a natural gift for putting people at ease. I will not deny that I was attracted by that. But I cannot accept you. If that were not the case, then how could I explain this irritation I felt? People like you should be content with the happiness they were born with. Why do you see fit to concern yourself with thoughts of becoming independent? I never had time to concern myself with anything, period. Farewell. Tomorrow, I will accept Hozuki-sensei's proposal and become a special high-class individual. Thank you for the past several days. Stay in good health. Saika-san was frozen with shock. Her feet were glued to the ground. Time itself seemed to have stopped. She just stood petrified, not even wiping the tears flowing from her eyes. Someone who concerned herself with the feelings of others at all times would surely feel great distress from being rejected so bluntly. Especially if the person who had rejected her was the man she had romantic feelings for. I sat down on the floor after completing my heartless analysis of her. I would keep the fact that she had written poetry a secret. It would normally mandate punishment, but I was to be removed from her supervision the next day anyway. In any case, I trampled over her expectations and feelings. Nothing could be greater punishment than that. With that in mind, I slipped the paper with the poetry in it back into my pocket. Her crying continued unabated, working its way deep into my head. I remained silent, concentrating on what would be my final duty as her supervisor. The conclusion I had reached regarding my own feelings should have been the correct one. But I felt a certain unease as I looked at the girl before me. The girl who could not even be left by herself at times like this. I should have hated her, but I could not stop concerning myself with her. Truly nothing but irrationality. I agree, Hozuki. Or sorry, Masaomi. Human brain, human emotions.
私の提案を受け入れると
It's freaking stupid. I left Saika-san with Higuchi and paid a visit to Hozuki early the next morning.
なんだよ、阿久津。
She seemed to be genuinely pleased.
てっきり昨日の夜はサイカミーナを抱きながら私を倒す計画でも練っているのかと思っていたぞ。
It's against my principles to engage in battles with no chance of success.
主義その程度のことで主義とか口にしない方がいいぞ。人間が安く見える。
Her tone carried no hint of derision.
ではこれからは本気でお前に指導していくとしよう。
Thank you very much. I thought as much. Borrowing Hozuki's power to become a special high-class individual meant being taken in under her wing and joining her faction.
差し当たって阿久津のせいは捨てるのだな。
Well, I wasn't sure how to respond.
どうなんだ。まさかここまで来て断るとでも。
Saika-san's face flashed through my head for some reason. No.
なんだ。どうした。
My head started to hurt a bit. Entering into your family register would entail what, exactly?
お前と私が夫婦の関係になるということだ。
What a repulsive concept. That makes me look like an opportunist, eh? I meant it as sarcasm.
私もそろそろ所帯を持っているというステータスが欲しいのだ。この国にはまだ母となり子を育むことこそが女の道なのだという観念が根強いからな。
Children. Hozuki simply smiled at the obvious displeasure in my voice.
安心しろ。私は子供が産めない体だ。子供の頃子宮をがんに侵されてな。それ以来女であることを捨てることにしたのだよ。
Well, Hozuki too was human. Everyone had their own circumstances. She simply happened to be unable to pursue the happiness of a woman. Just then,
おもろいな、本当に。
of course. What an asshole. Oh my god. What is that supposed to mean? Hozuki spread her arms out exaggeratedly.
冗談だよ、阿久津。お前は本当に優しいな。ちょっと過去を晒せばすぐ同情してくれる。
Is that really a bad thing to have, though? That sort of feeling? I don't know. Maybe she's right. Maybe she's right. At the back of my mind, I probably know that she's right. Sympathizing with people easily is not something people should be doing. Because it will lead to, you know, being swindled, being fooled, being manipulated. But man, is it hard to deny feelings sometimes, dude? You depraved little, well, Perhaps she did have a point. Perhaps I was too soft on people. And perhaps that was why I had not been able to help Saika-san.
阿久津よ、
Her expression transformed in the blink of an eye.
お前には才能があるがまだまだ脆い。
She arched her brow at me and spoke in a commanding tone.
私に従え。そうすれば本当の強さというものを教えてやる。
Her eyes were those of a predator cornering its prey. I desperately sought a means to justify my actions. A way of convincing myself that I had not lost to Hozuki. That I was just using her. I understand. I will abandon my name. From now on, I will be known as Hozuki Masaomi. I felt like a weight had just been lifted from my shoulders. Hozuki nodded again and again, looking me up and down.
よろしい。では早速さまざまな手続きに入るとしよう。
She approached her desk and opened one of its drawers. She drew out a sparkling golden badge.
まずはこれを与えよう。
I silently accepted the badge.
何か感想は？
I respectfully submit my intent to carry out my duty as a special high-class individual. Hozuki seemed pleased.
これから着任の手続きがいくつかある。明日また呼び出すからそれまで待機していろ。
What about Saika Mina's supervision?
もうしなくて構わん。昨日お前を監視していた局員がいたろ。彼を補佐監督人として当たらせ、使途まで護送する。
An assistant supervisor was a special position appointed in order to temporarily aid a special high-class individual with difficult tasks. Though it was a position established for the purposes of doing a special high-class individual's dirty work, the only authority it possessed of its own accord was determining whether or not a criminal was upholding his or her obligation. The responsibility for actually taking action fell upon the special high-class individual to whom the assistant supervisor had been appointed. And allow me to excuse myself.
行動に気をつけるように。これからはお前も我々側の人間なのだからな。
She offered me a warning.
しっかり頼むぞ。ほおずき正臣。
I clasped the badge sitting in the palm of my hand. Hozuki Masaomi. I had no particular attachment to the name Akutsu, but I couldn't help feeling a bit uncomfortable with my new name. Well, I'll get used to it. I headed back. I had accidentally ended up following the road to Saika-san's house out of habit. Saika-san and I were nothing more than strangers now. This is not where I should have been returning to. Though perhaps it would be prudent to at least say goodbye. Of course not. What am I thinking? Wasting time like this. I would turn right around and walk the other way. I would forget about this. I turned around, disgusted at my lack of resolve. I set eyes upon the man I had met yesterday. He had probably come to escort Saika-san. Much obliged. The man nodded slightly. Will you be traveling by foot?
州境までは
If you leave now, night will fall while you are still on the way there.
急ぎの命令ですから。
Take care then.
わかりました。
I'm counting on you. She's slow and fairly weak, so take care not to overwork her. The man looked at me questioningly.
やけに非構成人の心配をなさいますね。
Indeed. Well, I suppose I simply feel a certain sense of responsibility. I've been supervising her for a while now.
ほう
I doubt he viewed my words as anything more than an excuse.
まあ、そういうことにしておきましょう。
What was wrong with me? Rehabilitees were criminals. The man's line of thought was surely the correct one. but I could not shake a vague feeling of unease. Saika-san suddenly appeared.
話し声がしましたので、何かなと思いまして。
She humbly directed her eyes to the ground.
おお、帰ってきたか。そろそろ飯だぞ。
井口三郎、ちょうどよかった。大月先生がお呼びだ。
え、マジで？
早く行け。
げえ、なんか超嫌な予感がするぜ。
He was truly a man lacking merits other than that of intuition. The future awaiting Saburo was a grim one.
行かなきゃダメっすか。
Please accept your defeat graciously.
なんだよ、往生際って。やっぱやべえんじゃねえか。
Shut up and go.
くそ、わかったよ。
He gave up.
ミーナちゃんを頼んだぜ、マサオミ。
He hurried off toward the school. She couldn't even look me in the eyes. I found myself compelled to turn my eyes away from her as well.
サイカミーナ、これよりこの町から移動する。すぐに出発の準備をしろ。
Saika-san gasped in surprise.
どういう意味でしょうか。
意味などない。言われた通りにしろ。
ちょっとお待ちいただけないでしょうか。
命令に逆らうのか？
そんなこと急に言われましても。
なんだ？罪人のくせに。
His cold eyes turned mechanically from Saika-san to me.
真面目にこの女の監督をしていたのですよね。
His complaint was certainly justified.
私は不快です。なぜこの女に私の命令を拒否する権利があるのですか？女の発言には常に公然性が求められるのに、なぜわがままをするのですか？
His viewpoint was certainly understandable. The act of refusing an order implicitly compromised a certain level of individuality, a certain level of independent thought, whereas her obligation explicitly denied her the right to speak her mind about things she found distasteful. Yes, you are correct. My guidance was insufficient. I've been too soft on her after all. Saika-san, please follow orders. If you do not, you will be punished. A wave of helplessness washed over me.
そら、とっとと準備をしろ。
The man put his hand on her shoulder. He shoved her forcefully in the direction of the house. Hey, don't be so rough with her. I unconsciously leapt upon the man and twisted his arm behind his back.
何をそれ。
After managing to calm myself down, I responded coolly. Nothing. My apologies. However, you do not possess the authority to employ violence upon a rehabilitee. I let go of his arm. Her eyes were filled with longing. I could stay here no longer. Farewell. Keep safe. I entered the house to retrieve my own luggage, offering her only cursory sentiments. I never did manage to look her in the eyes. I arrived at the riverside, intending to sleep outdoors. The river water reflected the golden hue of the midsummer sun. This would be classified as gorgeous scenery, wouldn't it? I wonder how Saika-san would describe it. I drank a few scoops of water out the river, then lay down in the brush. In the brush? Is that right? Sure it's not bush? I guess brush might be like a bedding of leaf or something like grass, right? I took Saika-san's poem out of my pocket. Her handwriting was exquisite. I could not comprehend what the poem itself was trying to say. It seemed to be about affection or something of the sort. The meaning was obfuscated with a variety of metaphors and rhyming statements. I could not begin to guess what she had been trying to express. Though I was sure it was something along the lines of her wanting me to accept her. She had broken her promise to me after all. A poem composed with selfishness would not fail to contained selfish content. I managed to quell the unease in my heart by painting Saika-san as the bad guy in the situation. I felt incredibly base for doing so. The moon was so bright that night that you could hardly help but be entranced by it. Had Saika-san reached the border yet? What about Saburo and Ken? I always had a difficult time falling asleep, but tonight was particularly bad. I gripped the badge Hosuke had given me earlier. It emitted a golden gleam beneath the moonlight. Was it okay to become a special high-class individual this easily? If one looked at it objectively, they wouldn't be forced to conclude that I had abandoned Saika-san and Saburo and taken their rewards for myself. Of course, this wasn't exactly the first time I had abandoned someone. There was a sci-fi novel I had borrowed from Higuchi in my luggage. Seeking diversion, I opened it and began to read, using the light of the moon. It was a story about a prison break. A man was sent to prison on a false charge. Eventually, he managed to construct an escape route while avoiding the guards. The guards' eyes and flee to prison. I was like, what the hell is that word? The protagonist was depicted as a sturdy, quick-witted man, so he seemed likable. However, there was also a petty character who betrayed the main character and offered a bribe to the guards so he could escape to a safe place by himself. I felt wretched for sympathizing with this character. Well, perhaps the real traitors here were Saika-san and Saburo. I might have been unsuitable for a lead position, but I had managed to make it through anyway. And was there some fault in this? I had shed no tears for my father's passing. I had allowed my mother to leave without complaint, and I had trampled all of the other cadets underfoot. And I would likely continue to live a life founded upon the pain of others, until I obtained the power I sought at least. Hosuke was absolutely right. I was still far too weak. I needed to wait for the proper chance. The time was not yet right for me to escape my prison. Not yet. My eyes were starting to feel tired. I decided to lie down and try to get some sleep. Soon though, the sound of footsteps working their way through the brush forced my eyes wide open.
こんなところにいやがったが、探したぜ。
Saburo appeared, carrying his silver Duralumin case.
何してんだこの野郎。
I should be asking you that. Were you not summoned to Hosuke's office? Saburo suddenly began taking nervous glances around the area. I caught a glimpse of Ken sleeping on his back as he turned around.
やばい予感がビンビンしたんで逃げることにした。
What the fuck, this guy? What the hell, dude? He was on the run then. Allow me to rescue then.
おいおい、冗談はやめろって。
I've already become one of Hosuke's pawns. The blood drained from Saburo's face.
なんだと。
I'm afraid I don't see why that's a reason to be angry with me.
何か勘違いしてねえか。
He stared intently at me.
お前、天帝に反逆するとか言ってなかったか。
I'd intended to if you had cooperated.
根に持ってんのかよ。
Maybe. Saburo nodded as if he understood something.
こっそり家に帰っても誰もいねえからおかしいと思ってたんだが、ミーナちゃんはどこだ。
Saika-san should be at the border by now.
こんな夜中にか。
He was probably concerned for her safety. His tone was a condemning one, so I frowned in response.
せめてお前が送ってやればよかったじゃねえか。
I'm no longer Saika-san's supervisor.
何テンパってんだよ。
Do I seem nervous to you? However, his words spoke the truth. A certain insecurity crept into my voice.
ミーナちゃんと何があったんだよ。
He seemed genuinely concerned. Nothing. I handed him the piece of paper Saika-san had left in the bathroom. She broke her promise with me and composed poetry for foreign music. I then rebuked her for it. Saburo kept his gaze fixated on the paper as he spoke.
嘘をつくときは嘘の中に本当のことを混ぜておくといいんだってな。
I'm not lying.
でも全部じゃないだろ。
I gave up. I rejected her. That is all.
それだけのことって。おいおい。
He seemed distressed.
そんなに隠れて詩を書いてたことが許せなかったのかよ。
It's certainly part of it, but I suppose the problem is a more fundamental one. We are simply not compatible.
もっとストレートに言ってくれよ。どこが気に入らないんだ。
Well, I've never been good at elucidating my feelings. The way she hides her selfishness behind her consideration of others. She was weak. Did she not even stop to consider that I would be the one held responsible if the fact that she was writing poetry were to come to light? If she did love me, she would have practiced more foresight. Great. You've gotten me irritated all over again. Saika-san's face popped up into my head. Alright, you're under arrest. Come quietly. Saika-san inside my head never lost her smile. Saburo held up the piece of paper.
お前これちゃんと読んだか？
I did. It's clearly Saika-san's handwriting. I grabbed Saburo's arm, but he showed no response.
意味教えてやろうか？
What it means? The meaning of the poem, then.
深い愛の詩だな、こりゃ。
It was obviously nothing more than her selfishness. It's probably just talking about how she loves me or something. I clicked my tongue.
うぬぼれんなや。
What?
おめえじゃねえよ。
Saburo shook me off.
こいつはな、おめえのおとんとおかんの幸せを願った詩だよ。
I was at a loss for words.
お父さんお母さん元気でやってますか？息子さんは元気ですよ。いつもお父さんとお母さんのことを気にかけてますよ。
To be honest, Higuchi, or Saburo, this is probably just something that he doesn't want to listen to. Or this is something he doesn't want to see. He was trying to blame something that was clearly not there. That's just how people are.
不器用で冷たく見える人ですけど、中身はとても優しい人です。あなたたちを恨んでいる素振りを見せますが、それは本心ではないと思います。
Don't want to hear this.
なぜなら本当に冷たい人は恨むという感情すら放棄するからです。だから安心してくださいね。息子さんは素晴らしい人です。彼はもっと強くなって人助けをするんだそうです。必ずあなたたちを迎えに来てくれるでしょう。だから心配しないで待っていてください。お元気で。お元気で。
Saburo fell silent after finishing the poem. Ken slowly opened his eyes. I couldn't even begin to imagine what my face looked like at the moment. So what about it? What does Saika-san know about my parents? Besides, my father is dead. He's not doing well or anything of the sort. This is completely absurd. She probably wanted to wish for his happiness in the afterlife in my stead. Besides, regardless of what she wrote, it doesn't change the fact that she broke her promise to me. She probably felt she needed to write this, even if it did mean breaking our promise. Ridiculous. Truly foolish. She had wanted to leave something behind for me, even if it meant incurring my anger. Would I be able to walk away without confirming this with her? Would I be able to just let her go like this? Saika-san had never been able to express her true feelings because of her forced deference to others. And I had spat upon the feelings she had finally found herself able to convey.
ミーナちゃんは無事かね。
He cast me a look of sympathy as he rummaged around in his Duralumin case. He drew out a small black object. It was a box about the same size of one's palm with a small antenna sticking out of it. What's that?
こいつは受信機さ。盗聴用の。
He pressed some sort of switch on it. He put the device against his ear and began nodding.
なんか慌ただしいな。局員連中が無線で連絡を取り合ってるんだが、最近はずっとそれを傍受してたんだよ。
I was about to inform him that this was a crime, but he cut me off.
局員の一人から定時連絡が途絶えたらしいぞ。そいつはついさっきまで非構成人を護送してたらしい。おい、聞いてるのか？
I sighed. Saburo.
なんだよ、俺を捕まえる気か？
I shook my head. Take Ken and run away somewhere that Hosuke won't find you. I gently patted Ken's head. Our eyes met. He seemed like a delicate child, but his eyes held a certain purity. He's the child of all three of us. Take good care of him. I looked directly at Saburo. I have some unfinished business to take care of. I sped off toward the entrance of to the town. Saika-san and the agent from earlier should have taken this road as well. Given that he was escorting a woman, they wouldn't have been traveling too quickly. However, the fact that contact with the agent had been broken off would mean that I had to assume the worst case scenario. My blood began to seethe as I ran. The timing was too perfect. Why would a prisoner who had managed to elude dozens of members of the public security forces suddenly decide to show himself now? I had fallen into her trap. This was nothing more than another plot twist in her twisted scenario. But what good did knowing that do to me? All I could do now was hurry. I was starting to run short of breath for maintaining such a rapid pace, but I could not afford to slow down. Moonlight shone down upon my back. I believe it was around here, the place where I met her for the first time. She had spoken to me like that. Yes, she had certainly thrown off my rhythm back then. Not at all. You were the first. Please be safe. Had anyone up there heard my wish? There were two human figures up ahead. They seemed to be at a standstill. The area was silent but for the whinings of insects. As such, it wouldn't be surprising if he could hear my footsteps.
Tomare!
And hear them he did. He has a gun? He had probably stolen it from the agent. I continued closing in on him anyway.
止まれと言っているのが聞こえないのか
I ignored his warning. I had no idea what sort of training he might have had, but I severely doubted it was possible to hit me with a bullet in the dark of this distance. I finally made it close enough to discern their faces. A look of wonderment swept across Saika-san's face as soon as she spotted me. Stay back, Saika-san. I raised both of my hands in the air and attempted to approach further.
この少女を担当する特別行動人だな
His voice was deep and piercing. It looked like he had a working head on his shoulders at least. Lower your gun. As you can see, I'm unarmed.
悪いがそれはできん相談だ
He was still young, but his eyes were sharp and he carried the gun with experience. Then how about this? I have no interest in you personally. If you release your hostage, I will let you go.
状況をよく見ろお前は要求できる立場か
He was a tougher nut to crack than I thought. I'll be your hostage in her place. The man silently pointed the gun in my direction. Listen, You're going to need a hostage across the border. As you know, I'm a special high-class individual. I can tell the guards to stand down. I gradually close our distance.
信用できんな。
So you've forgotten how to trust people after being locked away in a prison for a year.
ああ、まったく。実験だかなんだか知らねえが、性格が歪んじまったぜ。こんな少女を人質に取っちまうくらいにな。
I stole a glance at Saika-san. Amazingly, she was attempting to smile even in this situation. It was a distorted smile, one tinged with fear.
狂ってるぜ。
Oh, sorry.
狂ってるぜ。この世は。
Yoa, huh? My apologies, Saika-san.
町から逃げて、俺はこの国をぶっ潰す。邪魔はさせんぞ。
I managed to take another step without being noticed. Just a little more. Can I ask one thing? Why do you resent us so much? You're the one who committed a crime.
貴様らのように権力を間違った方向に使う人間への憤りだ。
And this was coming from someone who had stolen a gun and taken a girl hostage. Huh. So it's our fault. You know what that is? That is what you call the unjustified resentment of a worm. A spark tore through the darkness of the night. His bullet grazed my temple, but I paid it no heed and proceeded to restrain the man. The gun fell out of his hand, but then he managed to shake me off. Ugh. A dull pain spread through my stomach. I instantly jumped out of his range and assumed a defensive position. This man had fought in the war. His movements were clearly those of someone who had underwent military training. Seeing as he was already out of breath though, it seemed he lacked stamina. To be expected from someone who had been in prison for a year, I suppose. I simply needed to corner him gradually. I threw swift, continuous jabs from the left and right. Right, left, right, right. I mixed in some feints to keep him off his guard. The man suddenly staggered, leaving his chin exposed. I didn't let that perfect chance slip by. I delivered a sharp blow to the tip of his jaw. He toppled to the ground. He had most likely lost consciousness for a moment. He tried to raise himself once more, but he lacked the strength to do so. I delivered a chop to the back of his neck. He went into light convulsions and soon lost consciousness completely. I picked the gun up, thinking it to serve as a weapon, but it was out of bullets. So even in the end, we were still dancing to her tune. What a crazy woman. I caught my breath and made sure that the prisoner was unconscious. Saika-san was just staring blankly at the scene before her. At a glance, it would not seem that she had been the target of any violence.
大丈夫です。手荒な真似はされませんでしたので。
Her voice was shaking.
助けていただいてありがとうございます。
She nodded briefly and then looked away.
阿久津さん、私、義務を破ってはいませんから。
She pointed to the man on the ground.
この方に町の外まで同行するよう求められましたが、私はいつも通りだったと思います。
She offered me her signature smile.
普段通りに人の顔色を伺ってヘラヘラとしていたので、この方は気味が悪くなったそうで。それで何もされずに済んだのだと思います。
What did she want to say to me?
義務は守っていましたから、阿久津さんの試験に響くことはないと思います。
She was acting different. Oh, sorry. Diffident. Diffident? Modest or shy. Okay.
安心してくださいね。
I stared down at the ground. I remained silent, attempting to suppress the unidentifiable feelings welling up inside of me.
阿久津さん、どうされたんですか？私、まだ不快でしょうか？そうですよね。すみません。お手を煩わせてしまって。でも、最後にお会いできて、よかったです。
She was on the verge of tears.
阿久津さんに、一言謝りたくて仕方がなかったんです。本当に、約束を破ってしまって、申し訳ありませんでした。うじうじと泣いてしまって、申し訳ありませんでした。これからは、一人で頑張っていきますんで。
She sniffled as she desperately pleaded for my forgiveness.
どうか、阿久津さんも、お元気で。
I couldn't put up with her transparent attempts at holding herself back any longer. I lifted my head and drank in the fact that she was safe. Thank God. My breathing came raggedly. Thank God. Thank God, huh? Her body trembled so very vulnerably. Thank God. Just really, truly, thank God. You were scared, weren't you? You can cry if you want to. I embraced her. Don't find you unpleasant in the slightest. The fact that you are safe makes me happier than anything else.
どうして？
She twitched.
阿久津さんは、私が、嫌いだと。
Well, I didn't understand it myself. You are a weak person. I guess I would have to say that I hate you. There's a saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So you need to stay by my side. No, it's not what I meant to say. I bit my lip. I'm curious. I'm so curious. What do you find so interesting about looking up into the sky and feeling the wind? Why did you write poetry about my mother and father? How can you say that I'm a kind person? Why does your smile stir my mind so? I took a deep breath. I'm not letting you go until I get the answers I want. I embraced her strongly once more, wanting to feel her warmth.
そばに置いていただけるんですか？
Yes.
私、個性がないですけど。
It's not true.
詩は、本当は一人でお手洗いに行くことを許された時からずっと書いていたんですよ。
Well, you did always take a long time in there.
最初は阿久津さんへの思いを書こうと思っていたのですが、どうにもうまくいかなくなって、阿久津さんの過去を聞いてようやくまとまった内容になったんです。
I thank you on behalf of my mother and father.
約束を破ってしまって申し訳なかったのですが、それでもどうしても書きたくなってしまって。
You had to, huh? I guess that was, in her own way, her only way of expressing herself. You really are selfish to the core.
すみませんでした。そうでもしないと自分が自分でなくなってしまうようで。す 数日前の阿久津さんはとても怖かったし。
You know that I hate excuses.
でも阿久津さんのお父さんとお母さんが少しでも幸せであってくださればと思いまして。すみません、よく知りもしないのに。
Yeah, really. I couldn't bring myself to get angry with her. Instead, I simply felt a deep yearning to protect the fragile girl standing before me.
こんな私があなたをお慕いしていても構わないんですか？
My chest burned. Something inside was whispering to me to make my feelings clear. Acting in the throes of this desire, I finally managed to confess. What a very unprofessional or unromantic way of confessing. Masaomi, I love you. I felt a sense of sheer relief after saying it. The contentment that washed over me swept away any lingering doubts.
嬉しい。ありがとうございます。
She buried her face into my chest, shivering. We stood for a while simply holding one another, ascertaining each other's existence. She was right next to me. Just knowing that was so very comforting. The teardrops running down her cheeks glistened with the silver light of the moon. I led Saika-san by the hand back to the house. What should we do now? She should have already crossed the border on her way back to the capital. And now is to follow Hoseki's orders as a special high-class individual starting tomorrow.
なんだかもうずっと帰っていないような気がしていました。
I couldn't part with this girl. Don't turn on the lights. We can have them finding out that we're here. There's always the option of crossing the border and running away. Just the two of us. Getting by the border guards was no simple task, however, and I had no intention of forcing the life of a fugitive upon Saika-san. That left us with only one choice. Launch a counterattack against Hosoki Ari and have her comply with our demands. That being the cancellation of Saika-san's obligation. And to arrange for Saika-san's home to be in the vicinity of the area I would be dispatched to. If this was not possible, I would simply resign from the exam. There were ways to change this country's future, even without becoming a special high-class individual.
阿久津さんの手、とても温かいです。
First and foremost, I had to protect her. A man who was incapable of defending even a single person would never be able to accomplish something grand.
阿久津さん、どうされました？
Well, that's true, I suppose. But I had my hands full with just protecting myself, though. Oh, nothing. Don't worry about it. I smiled at her. By the way, about the name Akutsu.
はい。
You told me it was a lovely name when we first met.
ああ、なんとなく語感がいいかなと思いまして。何よりも親から受け継いだ名前ではありませんか。
Indeed. Changing my name to Hosoki would be a disappointment to her.
よろしければ。
Yes?
正臣さんと呼ばせていただいてもよろしいですか？
She blushed. I don't mind. I'll call you... I struggle with the words. I'll call you Mina-san myself. Her bashful smile made my heart skip a beat. Saika, Mina-san.
はい。
Her smile was a bit forced. She likely realized the pressure I was under as well. I'm sure you must be tired. Why don't you take a rest?
わかりました。では、一緒に。
With me? Nothing.
正臣さん。
We stared at each other.
知っての通り、私はとても情けないです。
Most people wouldn't even admit that, to be honest, Mina. That's okay.
もっと強くなって、正臣さんのお役に立ちたいです。正臣さんのおそばにいる者として、恥ずかしくないくらいに。
If you feel that way, then I am satisfied. She bowed apologetically.
もっと、正臣さんのことが知りたいです。
Well, that's a coincidence. I want to know more about you myself. I slowly extended my hand. I gently touched her shoulder. Alright, I know this is gonna be, you know, there's gonna be a sex scene. But I feel like this is like super, like, I don't know. Usually most of the time when you're playing a visual novel with like super story packed content, you know, story heavy visual novel, the sex scenes are awkward. This feels very, very smooth. This is very smooth transitioning. Like they don't even know whether they're gonna survive or not tomorrow, right? I'll see you guys in a couple of seconds.
正臣さん、嬉しい。正臣さん、私、これまで親しく心を預けられるような方がいなくて、こういったことは初めてなのですが、よろしくお願いします。恥ずかしいです。失礼します。
And we're back. That was quite an enjoyable 15-minute sex scene. Pretty wholesome, if you ask me. Instead of the usual, you know, sex scene where you usually just see to the fap. And I think we're done. Yes, his smile. His smile of hers that carried an inner grace. I had been attracted to it since I had first laid eyes upon her. I wasn't just a victim of some scheme of Hozuki-ari. My feelings were genuine.
正臣さん、好きです。
We clasped each other's hands. We could feel each other's hearts beat. We could taste each other's breath. Things were so very different from when I had been supervising her. I finally felt like I had become a part of her life. The private life which her obligation prohibited her from possessing. And with that, I think I'm going to call it an episode here. But after what happened, man, I doubt I could very much sleep. So I'm gonna take a short break, make myself some coffee. I guess today's gonna be an all-nighter again. God damn it, Sharin no Kuni. Thank you all for watching the episode, though. Wow, a lot of stuff happened this episode. Like, holy Jesus. We might be nearing the end of the route, surprisingly. It was short and super sweet. Thank you all for watching the episode. I'm going to take a short break. And, well, for you guys, it's going to be tomorrow, but I'll see you guys next time.